Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope that you're all doing well. I hope that you're all doing absolutely freaking fantastic and that you're all having a wonderful day. Do not forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. There's a brand new video every 24 hours. A gigantic thank you to all subscribers and to everyone who leaves a comment every single video. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. I apologize lightly in advance. My nose is extremely stuffed and I do not know why. I can't figure it out. I took an allergy pill. I can't imagine. Maybe some kind of summertime tree thing is going on, but it's becoming quite frustrating. So, just bear with me. We have a lot of, it's imminent. It's about to happen. It's taking place today kind of news. I mean, to be fair, we've kind of had that for a while now, but since we got a lot of regulatory, air quotes, regulatory clarity quite recently within the space, everyone has kind of ramped up their intensity basically about everything within this market. We've started hearing a lot more people, if you missed any of those videos, a lot more people convinced that this year Bitcoin is going to $500,000, is going to $1 million. XRP, if you missed the other video, an analyst said we are currently looking like we are performing like 2017. And if we are, XRP's price, he said, is going to $13 in the next 40 days. We're getting a lot of mega grandiose kind of things. Same thing with Ethereum, the $1.5 million price prediction, a six-figure Ether running up the hill right next to us, all that other kinds of stuff. We're also squished in between. There's been a lot of US dollar collapse, US debt levels, US deficit, money that would be pouring into stocks is now pouring into Bitcoin. Gold is performing well, but not performing as well as Bitcoin. This kind of it's not even cyclical. It's just more of this idea that we are witnessing the first steps of hyper-Bitcoinization, and that basically as the US dollar, and I said this before, if you haven't looked, you might have seen some of it if you're actually within the States, but if you do any kind of Forex trading, foreign exchange currency trading, the US dollar lost 15% of its value in 3, 4, 8, 12, 16, in 20 weeks. Legitimately 20 weeks just over the course of this year. And it looks like it's going to get a lot worse. A lot of analysts are talking about just how bad things are going to get. This also ties into the idea of lowering interest rates. It's going to be great for people who have assets, people who are in crypto, but everyone else going to the supermarket, you're going to see your stuff rise by 15, 20, 30% over the course of a couple of months. This isn't a joke. This is literally how it actually works. So the discussion once again becomes, as we see the de-dollarization, as we see people investing billions of dollars into Bitcoin and not putting it into gold, into real estate, or into US stocks, it's kind of clear in which direction the world is actually moving. It says recent developments in the cryptocurrency markets continue to capture the attention of investors. Renowned analyst, his name is Jason Pizzino, shares the view that the depreciation of the US dollar could positively impact the price of Bitcoin. I think it already has. The US dollar has always been doing bad. If you missed it, since literally, you can see in a chart, Since the US left the gold standard and every other currency did as well, they've literally collapsed. Over the course of a 10, not 30, not 74, over the course of a 10-year period, the US dollar lost 99% of its value just to Bitcoin. If we are seeing the effects of all of this, the big mega companies, they're doing the exact same thing. I told you, it's not random. It's not them, singing Kumbaya together and going, I like the word Bitcoin. It's easy to spell. No, they're having discussions with each other. We need to get out of Dodge. It's actually collapsing. Let's get away from this currency and move our money into something else. 200 companies isn't a coincidence. It's a trend. It's something that's happening. That once again, as I stated, when you hear that BlackRock and Fidelity are getting into it, those were the gigantic. I cut myself. Those were the gigantic domino pieces that began to fall, and everyone else is now rushing to not get crushed by those as well. We're seeing the world move into Bitcoin and crypto. We're talking about it being used for mortgages, for goodness sake. Pizzino suggests that the current economic conditions might support an increase in Bitcoin's value. He said, and I quote, I think this is good news for Bitcoin at this stage of the current cycle. I believe the US dollar will continue to fall. With Bitcoin still on the rise, I foresee Bitcoin's upward movement continuing alongside the weakness of the dollar, end quote. As long as we continue to see these economic policies, as long as we continue to see these bills, as long as we continue to, I don't know if you know about this, if you've been paying attention. You know how the European Central Bank lowered interest rates 8 times consecutively, 8 times by 0.25, and it did almost nothing to the economy. People are trying to save money. Things are tight all over the place. People are really just trying to make it. The idea of lowering interest rates has to do with trying to incentivize people to take out debt. That is literally the reason for it. It has nothing else to do with anything else. It's trying to get people who would be taking out money in general for a mortgage or to build a town to be incentivized to take out that debt for 10 years, for 20 years, for 30 years, because they have a lower interest rate. Apparently, the whispers are they're trying to lower interest rates in the United States by like 2 or 3% in one go. The normal way you do it is by like a quarter, 0.25, another 0. You continuously do this over multiple years. And then eventually you get to your target. Lowering the interest rate by 2 to 3 times, like points, will completely decimate any hope of the US dollar anymore in the future. The best part is I always know when I say these things, there's always one skeptic. If you ever hear me say anything that's crazy, that you can't comprehend, you're not understanding, or you think I simply made up, look it up. You think things are crazy now? If we get, because I think, isn't the US interest rate like 7 or 8%? If it falls down to 5, or heaven forbid to 1% in one swift movement, it is game over for the dollar. You think stuff remember when everything in the news was like $16 eggs? Get ready for some $70 eggs. You want to talk about hyperinflation? I'm telling you, look it up. So many people are in constant disbelief until these things happen. We've been talking about inflation here in crypto since from the jump, from the literal get-go. I mean, it took people by surprise in 2020 when the inflation rate skyrocketed and they were printing trillions of dollars. Most people in the public had no idea what inflation was. It's not a joke. A lot of people had no idea what this thing was. It was incredibly abstract. And then you realize printing more money, also for those of you who didn't connect the dots, when you take out debt, that money gets printed. We're talking about trillions of dollars in one go. Back in 2020, that's why everything skyrocketed. Even if you look at now, the printing is still crazy. The idea is that the lowering of the interest rate, the machine needs more people in debt for a very long period of time to continue going. Have you ever watched, you must have, some kind of financial news and they talk about like shares in this company fell by 8% today because of, lower earnings. And they're like a clothing company. It's because less people bought from them because people were saving more money. We are not meant to save money. We are meant to be consumers. We're meant to get a paycheck, spend all of it, and then have to go back to work to be able to continue this cycle. That's the point of the system. This is how the rich get richer. You make a company that sells clothes, you buy something that's passive income, and other people work for you. You make the money and you rotate that money into another investment. Normal people are not supposed to invest and they're not supposed to save. You've heard it before. Lower earnings and all this other stuff. And these companies, the quarter before made record earnings. Of course they did. They keep raising their prices. They keep price gouging. They keep doing shrinkflation. It's all done on purpose. And they keep doing it to make sure that everyone stands in the corner and has nowhere else to go. So heaven forbid should you save. Heaven forbid should you want to invest. Have all of you forgotten? Remember the entire GameStop thing back in 2020 and 2021? You can find it on YouTube in case you've forgotten. All these rich people on financial news talking about, it's a little weird. Normal people shouldn't be investing. Just go live your life. And I'll never forget that one guy, the hostess, whatever her name was, the news anchor, was telling him, we're getting a lot of emails and responses. A lot of people, this one person made $50,000. He's able to take care of his dog and pay his rent. Someone else made $14,000 in a day. And this guy goes, it's just muddying the waters. If young people, you should be out there looking for a girlfriend. You shouldn't be trying to make money. Just go and live your life. And I was like, these people are rotten. These people don't want us to have money. When you hear me say a company bought 72,000 Bitcoin, it's the same energy. They're buying it so that there's none left. Whenever you hear that these companies and the articles it's talking about in a bold, fantastic move, this company, no, they're doing it to make themselves richer. If we heard from a company, if we heard from a company that said, our goal is to buy 100,000 Bitcoin. Do you want to know why? 90,000 of those Bitcoin, we're going to make sure that the earliest investors and even some after, we're going to give each of them 1 million Satoshis. We want everyone to benefit from this gigantic market. That would be cool. They're buying everything because they don't want you to have it. Why do you think if you haven't seen, Google it or watch a YouTube video about corporate landlords. Do you want to know why? Do any of you remember why all these companies are becoming like corporate landlords? Why they own 72,000 homes, 38,000 homes? Why? I think Blackstone currently has over 100,000 homes. Do you want to know why? Can anyone guess why? It's because of BlackRock's algorithm. It's called Aladdin. Google it. BlackRock's algorithm in 2019 shifted and said that this is so people follow what their algorithm says as like for the new money trends. And it said to start buying huge amounts of real estate, that the real estate market was at the point where it was like ripe for the taking. The interest was kind of low, and not interest rates, well, they were back then, but also just in general. Normal people weren't buying, and there were enough properties on the market that if they were all consumed by Wall Street, by the time we get to the 2040s, they would own everything. Google it. There's a recent video from CNBC. It's called, I think, How Blackstone Became a real estate something. You can definitely find it. This is all by design. They want everything for themselves. So here we are trapped in this situation where fiat currencies are already garbage and we're constantly told that we have to keep holding on to them. People within crypto finally find a way to benefit from it. And this is why I sit here sometimes blue in the face. Because I try and tell you and make you understand, I cannot and will never ever tell you what to do with your money. However, I will ask you to follow the trends and look at my old videos. If 2.5 years ago, we were talking about Bitcoins going to 6 figures, Bitcoins going to 1 million, BlackRock just got in the space, everything that BlackRock touches becomes platinum, people make a lot of money, BlackRock telling all their investors you should be putting 80% of your portfolio into Bitcoin. Bitcoin's at 13,000, 16,000, 35,000, 72,000, and people still in this market. I'm waiting for a dip. I'm going to wait for the price to go lower. You are setting yourself up for failure. Fiat currencies are collapsing. Bills are being passed that favor crypto investors. You want to stake your crypto and make money? Sure. Remember the other thing that we heard, that crypto apparently within the United States is also supposed to be tax-free? Who benefits from that? Is it your neighbor who works a 9 to 5, or is it you who've been collecting crypto for years? No taxes, passive income, get a mortgage with your crypto, not having to worry about it. Generational wealth, US dollar collapses, euro collapses, yen collapses. Who in the middle of all of that is still making money? Follow this, and I mean, I was going to say follow the signs. Dude, we get this news every 24 hours. You don't have to follow Jack Diddley Squat except for this channel. You are witnessing the collapse of the old system. You are part of the new system. You need to take time out of your day, your week, your something to really evaluate. Do I need more of this thing that is going to be used for 401ks? At some point in the very near future, I can get a mortgage just from my Bitcoin alone. As Bitcoin continues to become deflationary, as we move towards that glorious $2.4 million Bitcoin, you can buy a home and sell a fragment of your Bitcoin. You want to be one of those people who buys one of those €1 houses in Italy? And I mean, they only put 20, 30, 40,000 into it to make it look beautiful inside. Now imagine the asset you bought. It just keeps going up in price. And you go, I'm going to sell a fragment of my crypto. I'm going to buy 2 little cute places. I'm going to make sure that I have something nice that I can go vacation to. You know who benefits from that? People in crypto. If the US dollar has devalued by 15% in the last 5 or 6 months, and Bitcoin's price has risen by 15, 20, 30%, who do you think that benefits? The people with crypto. Experts point out that the decline in the value of the dollar during economic cycles can increase interest in risky assets. Assets like Bitcoin continue to attract the attention of investors during such periods. He basically goes on to say if the stock market does well as well from the declining US dollar, what ends up happening is people try to pump their money into something. If you see that the money on your bank account is going down in value, you can't buy that house as much as you could before, can't buy that so-and-so, you push it into any kind of a market. But the one that's doing the best is crypto. When we get to $1 million Bitcoin, $123,000 Ether, a $78.50 XRP, a $62 Cardano. Remember these moments forever. We are in the midst of a gigantic shift. This is the wealth transfer. The US dollar is collapsing. It's only going to get worse. Pay attention. Make sure that you're doing what you need, whatever you decide that you think you need to do to make more money, to invest, to become rich, to become richer, to avoid this economic downfall. Well, I think that's going to do it for this video. I do sincerely hope that you've all gotten something from this. People who hold crypto are going to be the richest people on the planet, and I hope that you are a part of it. Thank every single one of you once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting on the video, and supporting, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.